Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today we're going to be talking about our friend, the Nintendo GameCube, and specifically a device for it called the CubeODE that you can install into it to replace a possibly defective disk drive or to upgrade to just using SD cards. Before we talk all about that though, if you guys could do me a favor, please like this video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done that before, as well as check out all my social media stuff in the description. I've got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, Spreadshirt, and my travel channel. I appreciate the support. Let's get into it. Now, yes, we're going to be talking about the GameCube and specifically, again, this device called the CubeODE. Once again, though, full disclosure on this was sent to me for free for the purposes of review by Senko Games. I will put a link in the description to them if you wish to order this or anything else from them. I've got a couple things from them in the past. Seems like a pretty cool company and obviously very consistent on the shipping, so thank you very much for that. Now, with regards to this specific device, there's quite a bit to say. So first, let's just talk about the generic pitch of what it is. I originally showed this off briefly in an episode of Playload, and at the time I didn't know much about it other than the fact that it was an ODE. And I've learned a bit more since, and this is, again, it hasn't been installed yet, we'll do that kind of thing, but first, what is it in the forefront? What is its purpose? What problem does it solve? So as briefly described, this is a board that you install into the GameCube. Now, what you do is you effectively have to open up the GameCube and remove the disk drive, and then basically just plug this in. There is no soldering involved. It's relatively simple to do. It's just that keep in mind that the GameCube itself is a little tedious to take apart. But if I can do it, I'm sure you can too. Now, that said, once it's installed, the point of it is relatively simple. It has an SD card slot on it. You take an SD card that you've properly formatted, which by the way is FAT32, would be recommended. You use a little boot file called boot.iso, which is very easy to get online and using Swiss. It's a different thing we'll talk a little bit more about later. But you throw that in there, you create your directories, you put on your games in whatever sequence you prefer, whatever type of folder structure you like, and then from there, once you boot up the GameCube, it boots directly into the card using Swiss in conjunction with this device, and then you'll just see all your games laid out, and then you can click on any one and off you go. And therefore it all says the benefits of things like speed, etc. from there. Now, the reason you would want to do this is twofold. One, you might have a junker GameCube laying around that doesn't work properly, the disk drive's dead, but the rest of it is fine. This is a good situation in which you can go ahead and upgrade that and make it functional again. Or if you want to do the ultimate, like, tricked out GameCube that has all the, all the skills, if you will, this is not a bad alternative. Now, this concept might sound very familiar because it's basically the GC loader. That's what this GameCube is. This is my ultimate GameCube. It's even got a little custom, whatever plate of me on there. And inside we have a very flush-looking SD card mount. This is the GC loader. It is now my understanding that the GC loader was, I did a video on it a while back. It's a very cool product, very similar to this. As I understand now, basically what this thing is mostly a Chinese clone of that. So keep that in mind. This would be like, if you want the real quote-unquote experience, you're going to want a GC loader. If you're totally cool with, shall we call it the McDonald's solution, that's what the CubeODE is. It's just a Chinese clone of the same basic device, and it's kind of more useful, I would think, in like junker GameCubes, ones you don't care too much about, which would basically be this one. So this GameCube in particular, you can see it's seen better days. It's got some yellowing. It's like the silver one that's got some scuffs and stuff all over it. I actually used to play this one and just kind of preserve my special editions and all that sort of stuff. But then when I got this thing set up, this was obviously the way to go. So I can't think of a GameCube more fitting to install this in than this one. This would basically be the more, shall we say, cost-effective solution. Just keep in mind, if you want to support the original creator and what they did, you're going to want the GC loader. The CubeODE is, you're mostly supporting things like AliExpress. Just keep that in mind. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad product. I haven't even installed it yet. It's just that keep in mind the origin of it, Chinese clone of that product. Now, so we're going to go ahead and install it here in a bit. And as I said, it's a relatively simple process. I'm not going to do like a full breakdown of that. I'll just show you a couple of clips because there are full breakdowns online. But in order to get into this thing, keep in mind that the Nintendo used what are called game bits to basically prevent you from getting into the system. And in order to do that, you need a special screwdriver as well as special little, bit heads to put onto it. And then from there, you go ahead and you unscrew the bottom, you take the lid off, and underneath that, you will see the system with the boards and, you know, the laser assembly, all that sort of stuff. And then you kind of just have to tediously start taking it apart. If I recall correctly, you basically take out the front controller port board first, and then you just kind of work your way around, and then eventually you dismount the entire CD assembly. Once you have that, you'll notice that the CD assembly is attached to what looks like RF shielding, just a little thin piece of metal. You have to also remove it from that, and there you remove that entirely, and that's when it's time to plug in the CubeODE. You put it in there, you mount it to that with the screws that are provided, and then you put that back in and basically just reassemble the entire thing. And again, there are guides online if you want a more detailed you know, way of looking at that, but ultimately that's the process. And then once it's done, it just kind of sits there, and that's effectively the end of it. Now, in the clip you no doubt saw, you can see that it just kind of sits there and it's like hanging very low at the bottom. Whereas if you look at my GC loader here, you can see again that it is flush. Now there's a reason for that. The GC loader here had a 3D printed shell that it was put in there, and then it has like an SD card extension cable that feeds all the way down to the board, because otherwise it would suffer the exact same problem. I don't have that for the CubeODE, but to be fair, it does exist. You can do that. I'm just not, because for the purposes of this video and just kind of testing out the board itself, there really was no reason to do that. So yeah, plus I don't have a 3D printer anyway. And we're back. The GameCube is now, of course, all set up. Hopefully the installation for you guys wasn't too much of a pain, and maybe the footage kind of aided you along. Like I said, there's full-on guides if you're, you know, like, what did I miss there? But frankly, the installation itself was easy enough. It's just kind of tedious because that's the nature of the GameCube. Though to be fair, that's not really the CubeODE's fault so much, because you can't help it. That's just how it is. So ultimately, how does this thing stack up? Well, let me go ahead and fire it up here and show you. So I powered it up. The first time, to be fair, I already did this once, but the first time I powered it up, the GameCube screen came up and it basically had an error message saying something about the system's memory had been wiped or something to reset it. I think that's just the first time you do it. After that, we get this. This is, of course, the boot menu of Swiss. So I'm going to walk you through this process one more time in case you're not familiar. So this card, the CubeODE, does not natively contain Swiss on it. You have to put this there yourself. In order to do that, the micro SD card or SD card that you're using has to be formatted to FAT32, and then from there, in the root of it, meaning not within a menu system, you have to put on a specific file called boot.iso. Now the place where you get that is if you just simply do a Google search for Swiss GameCube, you'll find places, different websites that have files, and then you just download the most recent firmware, which it gets updated very frequently, by the way, and go in there, and when you download a pack, you're going to see there's like tons of files inside of this thing. You're not going to know which one you need. There's a specific folder called GC Loader. Open that up, and inside it'll say boot.iso. That's the file you need. Now, why is it GC Loader, and why does it have all these other files that you don't need? Because when they make Swiss, they make it compatible with a whole bunch of devices. They don't make one specifically for the CubeODE, but it works with the GC Loader version. The simple reason, again, for that is that effectively the CubeODE is just a clone of the GC Loader, hence it functions. So from there, as I said, you can do your folder structure however you like. I personally set it up so that you can see American games, European games, Japanese games. I separate them by that, and then within that, you can do it to whatever you want, alphabetically, etc. However you feel like doing it. You can do it as like shooters, RPGs. I don't care. It's up to you. It's however your personal organization preferences are. And of course, which games you have access to. So in this case, I'm in the American folder, I'm in the S folder, and then you can just kind of pick whatever. So I'm just, in this case, I'm going to put Sonic Adventure. Now, there's settings here you might have noticed. This isn't a tutorial about Swiss, but it's something to retain in the event that you are actually using a CubeODE. It has settings that it can remember. Personally, I don't mess with too many of them, but one of them I would suggest is that if you check out there's settings there specifically. There's also master settings overall. You can see that the force video output mode is at auto. I personally would set it to 480p right there. And then you can tell it from there to force boot it, basically. So for those who don't know, yeah, see now it's configured, and then you press boot, and then it goes ahead and it does that. So the thing with the GameCube, at least in North America and Japan, is that it's like half of the game's library supported progressive scan modes, aka 480p modes, the high def modes. Highly recommend doing that. But Swiss has this bonus feature essentially where it can force, sometimes it'll still ask, but even though it's already being displayed in high def mode, Swiss has a feature where it'll basically force the non-compatible high def mode games into high def. That's also really useful if you're playing, like, say, some of the European imports that run in like odd 576i and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's a cool feature, and I highly recommend using it. So how does the card itself ultimately function? It's the GC loader, but clearly a clone. I mean, it functionally is almost exactly the same, which would be expected with a clone. So there's not really much else to say in that regard, other than if you want to get one, I would probably recommend getting the GC loader to support the original creator's work. However, budget is a thing. So if you're like, look, I'm just trying to save a junker GameCube, it's got a bad lens, I don't have a lot of money, and I just kind of want this one-time fix solution, then sure, that context, it might be good. Like I said, there's the creme de la creme version that's fully, tricked out and does all the things. And then there's just kind of the beater one that will play the games basically just fine. That's an option too. It depends on you, your budget, and your interests. So that said, in my experience with the CubeODE, it seems to do everything it's supposed to do. I didn't notice any problems in particular that were unique to it or anything like that. But yeah, that's basically about all there is to say about it. So huge shout out to Senko Games for sending this my way. Hopefully you guys got something out of this review. As always, if you could do me a favor, please like this video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done that before, and check out all my social media stuff in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, Spreadshirt, and my travel channel. I appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all later.